Okay, let's dive into this. We've got some source materials here today. It looks like a fact sheet and part of a script, and it's all focused on one specific property development.
That's right, the Robertson Opus.
Yeah.
And the material we have, it uses this tagline: a masterpiece in a sanctuary, a legacy for life. Quite evocative.
It is. So our goal for this deep dive is basically to sift through these sources, right? And pull out the key info, what the material itself says makes this place stand out, what you should know based on this.
Exactly. We'll cover what the sources say about its location, the actual development details, the design philosophy they seem to be pushing, unit types.
And critically, the investment angle they present.
Yes, the reasons the sources give for why it might be a sound investment.
Okay, so first up, location. The material puts it squarely in District 09. Now, if you know Singapore property, D09, that immediately means something, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And it's interesting how the sources describe it, not just D09, but a prestigious enclave. They highlight being, moments from the Singapore River, Clark Quay, Orchard Road. So definitely emphasizing the convenience, the buzz.
But then there's that other word they use, sanctuary, which seems almost opposite. How did the sources suggest they manage that, being central and tranquil?
Well, the material points to the design, the landscaping. It talks about natural harmony. So the idea presented is, even though it's high density and right in the middle of things, it's designed to feel private, calm.
Okay, makes sense. And building on that prime location, what about the core details of the development itself, like the tenure? That's always a big one.
Right. The sources make a point of highlighting the 999-year leasehold, which, as they note, is often seen as practically freehold in terms of, long-term security.
Yeah, and the source material explicitly calls it a solid, future-proof investment for generations. That long lease, especially in DO9, seems key to their value story.
Definitely. It connects to the idea of scarcity, which the sources bring up again later when talking investment. Finding that kind of tenure in the central core region, it's rare. And the sources give the scale too. 5 blocks, about 9 to 10 stories high, 348 residential units, plus some retail 26 shops. Targeting completion looks like Q2 2030.
Got it. So beyond location and the basics, the materials seem to really focus on the design. They mentioned this dream team, Studio Maloo, 80DP Architects, Tinderbox for landscaping. What does highlighting these names suggest, according to the sources?
Well, suggest they're aiming for something more than just standard condos, right? Something with architectural significance. The sources use phrases like modern sophistication, natural harmony, timeless design. It's positioned as a premium, design-led project.
And they break down the units into different collections. Seems like they're targeting different kinds of buyers.
Yeah, that seems to be the idea presented. You've got the Premier Collection smaller units, suites starting around 431 square feet, 2 beds up to 721. The sources kind of imply these are for maybe singles, young couples, or investors.
Okay, the entry point, perhaps?
Sort of. Then the Luxury Collection is a step up. 2+ study from 743 square feet, 3 bedrooms up to 1,022 square feet. The material positions these more for upgraders, maybe families needing a bit more room.
Right. And the top tier?
That's the Legacy Collection. Premium 3 and 4 bedroom layouts, going up to 1,539 square feet. And the source material has this really interesting description for these.
What's that?
It calls it a landed home experience in the sky.
Huh. Okay, so trying to offer that feeling of space you get with landed property, but, high up, with views and condo facilities in a prime spot.
Exactly. That seems to be the pitch in the source material. And this all ties into the investment narrative the sources lay out pretty clearly. They list, 3 main reasons.
Go on.
First, it's back to that location and scarcity combo. Prime DO9 plus the rare 999-year lease. They really hammer that home.
Makes sense. What's second?
Second, the sources talk about upside potential. They mention it's in a high-demand area for both rent and resale. The suggestion is it attracts, affluent tenants, expats, which could mean good rental yields and capital growth, potentially.
Okay. And the third reason?
Amenities and the integrated retail. The sources frame these not just as nice-to-haves, but as things that actually boost the property's value and appeal over time.
Right. So, wrapping up what these sources tell us, the Robertson Opus is presented as being about, 1, that prime DO9 location that tries to balance city buzz with being a sanctuary. 2, the 999-year lease focusing on legacy, scarcity. 3, the curated design and different unit types for various buyers. And 4, those specific investment points, rarity, potential upside, and the quality amenities.
And importantly, if any of this detail from the sources sparks your interest, the material itself points you in a specific direction.
Yeah.
It says for tailored insights or to check on unit availability or maybe get a full presentation.
The source material encourages reaching out to Jetlee. He's identified in the material as a trusted real estate strategic advisor. And they provide the number, 876-49315. It's presented right there in the source as the contact point.
That is indeed what the source material indicates, the direct contact provided for getting more specific information or arranging a viewing based on what's presented.
So it leaves you thinking about that phrase they use, drawing directly from the sources. In a place like District 09, dense, urban, what does it really mean for a home to be positioned quite deliberately as a legacy for life?
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? Pushing beyond just the physical building to what the developers, according to these sources, intend for its long-term value and meaning.
Something to ponder. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the source material on the Robertson Opus.